Baby, when I tell you Damon got Gregory all the way together for part 2 of this reunion, let's chat.
Jesus, let me know, but they show no fish. Didn't say you found it, but she's still gonna hold on. Didn't say you found it, but she doesn't want.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Bonnie Scotch. Thank you so much for tuning into my video today. I wanted to bring you a review for part 2 of the Married to Medicine reunion. You know, I felt like this one was just okay too. You know, maybe what it is that I have fatigue. It's the fatigue of this show. It's the fatigue of these personas and characters. I think I'm just sick of everybody is what it is. You know, it wasn't a bad part 2 by any means. I'm sick of all of them. I want them off my TV, and I'm glad that this is coming to an end. Thank God I'm free.
I am free. Praise the Lord, I'm free. No longer bound. No more chains holding me. My soul is resting. It's just a blessing. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. I am free. Yes.
So we start this episode with Contessa saying that she hopes Damon is happy and that he seems miserable. Heavenly says that, oh, you sitting over there with that botched surgery. Contessa said, oh, I've had a double mastectomy. Now, here's the thing. Heavenly, you absolutely were out of order for saying that. Now, number one, Heavenly absolutely was out of order for saying that. That's crazy to say to somebody. Contessa keeps going for Heavenly. I don't feel like she ever was really, truly ready to go against Heavenly. Now, I was excited for Contessa to come back because here I am thinking that she's going to get Heavenly together. And this whole time she's talking about, oh, it's so many times I wanted to choke Heavenly. Contessa, I know that Miss Lucy had bopped somebody with a purse in the first season and that Mariah and Toya got it popping in that very first episode of the first season. But we don't want to see the women fighting on these shows. We want to see them sparring with their words. We want to see the shade. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like with Heavenly, you got to have this. You got to have your words ready and you got to be prepared. You got to be ready to go below the belt. So Contessa, you really disappointed me this season because you weren't ready for Heavenly. Now, if Mariah was up here, this would be it would be a totally different show. This would be a different conversation altogether. So then we get into Sweet Tea's package. Sweet Tea has had 2 failed attempts at IUI. Girl, that is God trying to tell you that you're not supposed to be having a baby with this man. Sometimes it's really spirit. Sometimes it's God trying to stop something from happening. Gregory is the last person who needs a baby. Sweet Tea in her confessional saying, oh, it's just so stressful trying to have a baby around these women. They're stressing me out. Girl, didn't you know that you were going to be stressed out on this show when you signed contract number 2? This is my thing with Sweet Tea and accountability. Like, the blame is always shifted to somebody else. If you know you're trying to have a baby, why would you come to a stressful environment? Candace from Real Housewives of Potomac went and got pregnant and had her baby, and while she was pregnant, she made sure that she was not on the show because she knew what type of environment she was going to be in. Y'all see how that works? Like, what are we saying here? Simone made a comment about, you know, as Gregory gets older, he may not want to attend a high school graduation at 80. Now, I said this in one of my reviews at the top of the season because at the time, mind you, I thought he was 60 at the time. So I'm thinking, why would you want to be 70 years old and your child is 10 years old? Why would you want to be 80 with a 20-year-old? You get what I'm saying? Like, everybody's hitting different milestones and you got to, like, you want to be there in a certain way for your children. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't know that, like, 70 is an appropriate age to be raising a 10-year-old. Like, it just seems odd to me. Sweet Tea is saying something about, you know, a man should love you and protect you and provide for you And then Quad says that he should, and how she was very uncomfortable watching him speak to her in a certain way. So in this moment, Quad is actually taking up for Sweet Tea. She's kind of on her side, and then Sweet Tea gives her the finger. Girl, you're the one with an abusive husband. She got out of an abusive marriage. But you know what? You like it, I love it, girl. Sweet Tea is saying that you're still pressed about Gregory, and Quiet is saying, I let you have my scraps. She said, I let you have my scraps. I said, not let you, honey. She said, scraps that you had to crawl into his DMs, promised him a baby, and you haven't made good on that promise yet. Sweet Tea, she got you with that one. She did get you because you did crawl into that man's DMs and weaponized your body against Quad. Now, everybody's saying, oh, it's so nasty for Quad to come for her fertility issues. But Sweet Tea started that because it started as a dig. I think it was a dig at Quad saying, oh, I can give you what you want. I can give you what you need. But what Sweet Tea is not clocking is that it's not that Quad couldn't have a baby for Greg. It's that she wouldn't. She actually said on the show, I am not bringing a baby into this world with you, into a volatile situation. She said, I'm not bringing a baby into dysfunction. So this was very much a choice. And can I just ask the audience? I mean, I know a lot of people like Sweet Tea and they feel like people are being mean to, like, I get it, right? But can I just ask y'all something? Like, can we just have a real moment for a second? Don't y'all think that it's a little bit unhinged for a woman to jump into the DMs of a stranger and offer up her womb? You don't know this man from a roast beef sandwich and you're offering him a baby. Y'all don't think that that's a little bit unhinged? I just want us to be very real for a second. Sweet Tea is saying that Quad has multiple failed businesses. She had 2 DUIs. She called her an alcoholic. What businesses has Quad had? I know she had that seasoning line, and I know she had a cookbook. Does that mean that she had a failed business, though? I don't know how well the seasoning line is doing. I don't know how well her cookbook did. I know that I've seen a couple of people saying that they had her cookbook. So I really don't know Quad's business like that. So I just thought that was interesting. But Sweet Tea, you were the one who named your own business Sweet and Savory after what Quad named her business, Sweet and Savory Seasonings. So it just seems like you're watching her, you're extra tuned into everything that she does. So you would know what's going on with her business more than us. I've never heard anything about Quad having DUI, so I can't really speak to that. Her being drunk on a couple of episodes, you know, a lot of these people get up here and they get drunk. I don't know that that makes her an alcoholic. Simone said that Quad started off gloating about her relationship, and Sweet Tea says that all Greg said was that she has a big effing mouth, but it was disrespectful for him to say that. Like, if King said that to you, Sweet Tea, you think that that would be okay? Absolutely not. He had no business cursing at that lady. She can brag about her relationship all she wants. Gregory bragged about bringing Sweet Tea around, and he married her on the show. So I don't get that it's a really big deal for Quad to brag, because it's like, as much as Quad is bragging, why can't y'all brag on each other? Greg could have been like, oh, I love my lady so much, she's so dope, she's so this and that. Like, you could have did it too. Like, I just don't get what the issue is with Quad being proud of who she brought to the show. Then we get into Heavenly's tweets. She said that Dr. G is not respected in the medical community. Now, a couple of reviews back, I read some of the reviews that Gregory's patients left on his, on his Google page. Some of the people in the reviews were saying that nobody belongs in his care and that he needs to be locked up in a cage. That's what his own patient said about him. So I can see him not being respected in the medical community. I personally don't think that anybody should even be in his care. And then we get this listener question saying, how can Dr. Jackie sit by and watch Heavenly attack somebody's fertility issues? I don't think that Jackie is responsible for anything that Heavenly says. Heavenly is a grown woman. Jackie should not have to answer to that. What are we saying here? I just think that those kind of questions are so asinine, because it's like, is Jackie Heavenly's mother? What is she gonna? Is she gonna beat her? Is she gonna scold her? Is she gonna sit her down in the corner and say, Heavenly, that's not nice? Heavenly is saying, that she was clapping back at Sweet Tea for bringing up her dead mother. Now, Heavenly responded and said, my dead mother has a better chance than you of having a baby. Listen, when you bring up people's dead moms, you have to know that somebody is going to say something very crazy right back to you. So in that instance, Sweet Tea should have been ready for Heavenly. You have to go to hell with somebody like Heavenly. And that's my issue with these girls. It's like they just let Heavenly get away with saying whatever she wants to say. So now we have the men showing up. Gregory is saying, I have to sit in here by myself. Yeah, you have to sit in the room by yourself because you're the one who likes to call the police. You like to call security. You need a bodyguard. So yes, you have to be in isolation because you're a cop caller for no reason. I just love this moment because it's like, I know you felt crunchy by yourself backstage. I know you wanted to be among your friends, but when you have this type of Karen behavior, it kind of just is what it is. You're going to be in isolation. So now everybody is looking at you crazy and stupid, and I love that for you. So then we have Mimi coming out, and the whole cast, as she was walking out, everybody lit up. Everybody was visibly happy to see her. So I think that the ladies really warmed up to Mimi. Now, y'all know I didn't really care for her. I actually liked her husband more than I liked her because, you know, she was sounding crazy and she telling Sweet Tea, they're trying to destroy your covenant. It's like, girl, ain't nobody trying to destroy nothing, girl. So if she comes back next season, I don't have a problem. You know, give the girls a chance. No problem. I don't have a whole lot to say about this segment. Then we talk about the ladies going to the White House. Y'all, I thought that it was so ridiculous that Jackie even went to the White House. Don't the White House run background checks on folks? They didn't hear the comments that Jackie had about pregnant black women. Jackie was never held accountable for what she said a couple of years ago, and Andy just skated past it. I don't want to hear about maternity mortality from Jackie of all people because we know how she feels about pregnant black women. Yes, I do think that the conversation is important, but I don't think that Jackie should be having it. I wouldn't trust Dr. Jackie with my own vagina. So now we have the men coming out. The women go backstage. Now, I thought that this was interesting because typically the women stay on stage and the men sit right behind them. So I just thought that that was a really interesting choice. Maybe it's because things would have gotten like really volatile if the women were on stage. Sweet Tea is trying to protect Greg. You know, she's ready to go to combat with King, honey. She's combat trained. So now of the men, I think that King and Steve looked the best. I also liked that, you know, the burgundy jacket that Scott had on, but he had like a bumblebee brooch and I didn't like that. I thought that was out of place. Andy is asking Greg and King, you know, how about a handshake? And it's like, Andy, shut your ass up and stop being messy. You remember like in kindergarten or in grade school, you would have a fight with somebody and they would like force you to shake hands, force you to hug. It's like, no, motherfucker, I don't want to touch this person that I'm into it with. So it's just so, Andy gets on my goddamn nerves. Gregory is saying, I want to know why he behaved that way. And King is like, well, this is a lack of accountability. And I agree with you, King, because how are you starting off this conversation blaming King and not addressing or acknowledging the role that you had in this? Like, you're not going to acknowledge anything that you did? You're going to get straight to pointing the finger? Andy says to Greg and Damon, hey, you both caught strays. The real issue was Heavenly saying that you are not respected in the medical community, and Greg says that he feels very disrespected. Andy is saying to Damon, how would you feel if Sweet Tea said that you weren't respected in the medical community? And Damon said, I could care less. I thought that that was funny. When Damon said that, I was like, come through, Damon. Damon says that he was more concerned with Greg not speaking on his character. Now, Damon, I'm going to have to whack you right here because, Damon, I think that you were wrong for this. Because that man don't know what you were doing in the streets, just in the same way you don't know what he was doing in the streets. So expecting him to vouch for you in this moment is like, who even cares? Here's the other thing to that. It doesn't really matter if anybody spoke to Damon running around on Heavenly because the reality of the situation is Heavenly is not leaving Damon. Now, I told y'all this in the last review. If y'all really wanted to shake shit up, if y'all wanted to get some shit going, y'all would be spreading rumors and telling lies about Heavenly. That's how you go low with Heavenly. This is how you go low with Heavenly. You accuse her of cheating. and running around and doing whatever so that Damon can feel some type of way. Because remember, Damon told us years ago he doesn't know if he would be able to stay with Heavenly if she cheated. But Heavenly says she's staying with her man. See, y'all don't listen to what the people say, and that's my issue. Cecil pipes up and says, the same way that you expected Gregory to speak to your character about cheating, you didn't come to defense of his character whenever Heavenly said that he's not respected in the medical community. I don't see why Damon would take up for Gregory if he's already on the outs with Greg. So, Cecil, you try to make a point here, and you didn't eat that for me. Then we got the ladies going at it backstage. Andy is saying, what about Heavenly calling Greg a PDF file? Damon says that Gregory should have come to him, but he did come to you, Damon, and that was why you shut down Heavenly's YouTube channel for 2 weeks, so he did come to you. Then they get into this conversation about how Gregory stopped seeing Damon's patients. Gregory says that they were high maintenance patients, and Damon says that you're a liar, and why can't you just own up to the fact that it was me and you that had an issue, so you decided to stop taking patients off the strengths of that. And they get into this conversation about how Gregory stopped seeing Damon's patients. Gregory says that they were high maintenance patients, and Damon says you're a liar. Why can't you just own up to the fact that it was truly me and you having this issue, so that's why you didn't want to take my patients. Once again, I want y'all to go and look up Gregory Lunsford's reviews on Google, because the people are saying that he belongs in a cage. He doesn't need to be seeing any patient at all. Nobody should be in the care of this man just based off of how he conducts himself on this show. You dragging women down steps, you ripping TVs off the wall, you getting in the cart with somebody and you hit the gas and talking about, I don't care if I kill us both. Baby, Gregory belongs in a padded room. He shouldn't have patience. Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that, right? Every time I do my Married to Medicine review, here comes the trash people. A garbage season. So it's fitting. Heavenly is backstage calling Gregory a bitch ass nigga. I agree with her on that one. I feel like the ladies were kind of doing a lot on Sweet Tea backstage. But I told Sweet Tea this last year, she needs to have her Rolodex of hate. She needs to stay on it. You need to have something ready to go. Damon says that he wishes Gregory would have just told him that he didn't have the bandwidth for these patients. Gregory says, I did tell you that. Damon says, now you're lying. Now, in this situation, I actually believe Damon because I have seen Gregory lie with my own two. I have heard him tell a lie. Now, remember in the episode where the skirmish broke out on the beach? And Gregory was like, man, I don't know why he came at me like that after I went and apologized to Quad. Why would you tell a lie like that? On camera, and we're all watching you. So now Gregory starts laughing. I thought that it was a little bit unhinged of him to do that because this is a very serious conversation that you're having with a friend. And I feel like Gregory laughing and kind of like brushing it off and dismissing it, I feel like that's what he would do in a relationship with Sweet Tea and with Quad. Like being dismissive, laughing, kind of like the Joker. Like that kind of behavior it made me uncomfortable. Andy is saying that Quad really liked the vibe check game and how she was uplifting her man. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually think that this might have been a listener question. And then we got Curtis piping up to say that, Quad had to sit there and watch Gregory brag about his new wife and getting married on the show. I said, not Curtis stepping in to make sense. This is what I have been saying the entire season. A lot of us have been saying this, how inappropriate it was for Greg to even be back on the show, knowing that him and Quad have a volatile past. Like, why would you agree to come back to the show after all this time? We never saw him film with the men in the years that he was off the show. And then now all of a sudden you get this new wife. You show up and she signs a contract. Simone is saying, well, Quad wasn't even around when Greg was saying it. And then Letitia starts piping up behind her. And it's like, you wouldn't have said anything if Simone didn't say anything first. So it's like, you can just sit there and be quiet. Simone starts getting loud and she says, we wanted to usher in the people that we were fucking with. Quad tells her to shut the fuck up. And then they start going back and forth. Simone says, you gave us your ass to kiss and we hung out with Greg. And then she stands up and starts screaming at Quad. Quad gets up and starts screaming back at her. Simone, it just sounds crazy to me that you're saying you wanted to hang out with an abusive man because you didn't like something that Quad did or said in 2017. Quad calls Simone a dirty bitch. Simone says that Quad got exactly what karma had coming for her. If I'm Quad, I'm never fucking with Simone again. Because you saying that a woman getting abused is her karma? What could she have possibly done so wrong to deserve domestic violence? I just would never say that about a woman. No matter how I felt about her, I don't think that it's okay for a woman to get dragged by a man, physically or otherwise. I think that is so crazy. Simone really is a disgusting person to me. And it's just crazy because Simone used to legit be my favorite. It was always between her and Quad. Quad and Simone were my girls. Quad said, I never turned my back on you. Who was knocking at your daddy's door when you couldn't find him? I've spoken to this before, how much I loved the friendship that Simone and Quad had, and how when Simone was looking for her daddy, Quad was right down in the streets looking for her daddy with her and just empathizing with her and helping her through. You know, whenever Quad was complaining about Greg, Simone was in her kitchen listening to her saying that, you know, Greg was out of order. I really did enjoy and love their friendship. Y'all hear the trash? And it's funny because usually the trash comes, sometimes they come like a little bit later in the morning, or they'll come like at noon. Lately, whenever I record these reviews, the trash is right there. That is so funny. Anyway, Quad is saying, I never turned my back on you. Who was knocking at your daddy's door when you couldn't find him? Simone is saying, oh, you only did that when the cameras were there. Simone, really? It just seemed like at the height of your issues with your dad, the cameras were around. So, whatever. We get a preview for next week, and Gregory has on this backwards Kango. He's singing Set Me Free. I would like to be set free from having to hear this song. But anyway, y'all, that was the episode. Go ahead and get down in the comments with me. Let me know how you felt about this part 2, okay? You know I want to hear from you. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button on your way out. Hit the notification bell so you know what I'm posting. And I'll see y'all for the next one. Peace.
Come on. It's me, El Grande, or call me Papi Chulito. Yo tengo mucho loving for you mommies if you legal. For honeys, nothing equal to the way I tap that spot. Get your cat high, guess what? You hit the jackpot. Candlelight dinners for you winners. See, I'm like Don Juan, beat me, sweetie. I get in ya. Sugar, I'ma put you in a beautiful